My name is Chris Edler, and this is my theory of pickleball. I started playing in 1973, shortly after my uncle, Marty, played the game on the original court on Bainbridge Island where the game was invented. He fell in love with it, put in 2 courts immediately near his house, and I've been playing ever since. I've also played tennis. I got back into tennis when my granddaughter started playing, so I was able to hit with her and try and coach her. And I took some professional coaching in tennis. So that's my background for racket sports. Other background, electrical engineer by training. So I had physics and dynamics in college. So I'm a bit aware of what goes on with the ball and the gravity and hitting things and so forth. And so this is my theory. My theory is that most people that play pickleball think that pickleball is pretty distinct from tennis. It's obviously related because there's a ball and you hit it with something and run around. But they think pickleball is kind of a unique sport that requires a lot of extra different knowledge and that you hit differently than in tennis. But my experience, having played both, is that they're very similar. The differences having to do with the non-volley zone and the double bounce rule and serving underhand are relatively trivial in my experience, and it's just you make adjustments for those. If you're a tennis player, you just make adjustments and hit things the way you would hit normally in tennis, but with those restrictions. My engineering background tells me that by analyzing the strokes that I see the pros using, and I've looked at lots and lots of pros in super slow-mo on YouTube. I've downloaded the videos. I've done a single frame at a time, backwards and forward, to see exactly what they're doing. And after looking for probably 2 years worth of looking, it's apparent that the strokes that they ended up with are constructed to minimize errors. That's one of the reasons they're able to play so well. It's not just that they're physical specimens, they have great hand-eye coordination and so forth, but the strokes that they use are constructed specifically to minimize errors. And that's how they can get away with, for example, mistiming the ball. So they maybe try to hit the ball here, but it's a slow ball because of backspin, and so they hit it out here. Well, they've minimized the error that causes by having a stroke that's constructed to compensate for those errors, whether it's forehand, backhand, slice, volley, whatever. Their strokes are designed to minimize error, and that's really the key to playing well. If you watch a lot of the top pickleball players, a lot of them don't have strokes based on tennis strokes. They have sort of like pickleball distinct strokes, which are much harder in general to hit reliably and with low error, but they get away with it because they're such physical specimens. They're young, they're fit, they can get to the ball quickly, and they just have such great hand-eye coordination that they can make up for the strokes not being as good as tennis strokes. Tennis strokes evolved the way they did because there's millions of dollars in tennis, millions of dollars of prize money. So each of the pros that have gotten up near the top ended up hiring people, whether it's standard coach, or even they'll get physicists to look at how the ball and the racket interact, and they've basically went out all the hard to hit strokes, and all the ones that they hit with now are relatively easy to hit with low errors. So that's my theory of pickleball. Now, as with any theory, it's just a theory. Obviously, you can say, hey, this is just a theory. Prove it. Well, I proved it to myself, and of course I can't transfer that internal knowledge to you. So if you want to test my theory, you'll have to hit the strokes that I promote that are basically tennis strokes. You'll have to hit them yourselves and see if you can come up with no, it doesn't work, or yes, it does. It's a bit of a fooler. You can actually think you're doing what I'm saying, but you're not. So you really would have to video yourself and verify that the strokes that you're doing are exactly as I described. Otherwise, and I speak from experience, you can fool yourself. I've actually fooled myself into thinking I was hitting a specific stroke a specific way, videoed it, and I go like, my goodness sakes alive, I am not hitting it that way. So you really have to get some external verification, because it's easy to be in denial about what you're doing. I've had several things, particularly on my serve in tennis, that I thought I was doing one thing, but I was not achieving it. And I had to go back and keep working on it until I finally did achieve it. And if you're interested in getting your strokes better, I highly recommend videoing yourself. So even if you don't take my strokes as the gospel, you can, whatever coach you want to go from or YouTube video you want to go from, look at what you're doing and see if it's exactly what's as described. So in my next video, I'll describe basically the basics of minimizing errors by having a stroke that's constructed properly. I can't transfer my knowledge to you of my experience, so you got to do it yourself. If you're not interested, that's okay. You know, if you're just out to have fun, no big deal. My fun comes from hitting better and better, and that's why I've pursued it. And from my experience, the better I hit, the better my strokes are, the more fun I have. Fun is kind of a squishy word. It's the more rewarding it is. That's the real thing. It's rewarding. You know, you feel really good about yourself by being able to overcome the difficulties you've had by having poor strokes. And for me, it's been a great thing to do. Anyway, good luck with it if you try it, and if not, have fun.